Hi, this is Mark Henry, author of Dancing with Energy, Healing, Magic, and Mysticism. I'm here again to talk to you a little bit more about the occult and paranormal. Today I'm going to talk a little bit about your beloved pets, the animals in your life, and one specific figure you can go to help with their healing and protection. I talked about Saint Expedite in a previous video and the use of him in emergency situations, financial crises, that sort of thing. And now I'm going to talk a little bit about Saint Francis. And I know that some of you are not Catholic, and I am not Catholic either. However, it's important to kind of, if you were to undergo the study of magic, and by the way, I consider a magical element to all religions. You cannot find one religion where there is some sort of mysticism and magical element to it. Even if you look at prayer, what that is, it is just another way of creating a particular effect through a deity. So I want to make that assertion. So as far as St. Francis is concerned, kind of fill you in a little bit about who he is and a little bit about his life. St. Francis is a beloved saint in the Catholic Church. They considered him, I forgot the term, maybe like Little Christ or somebody like that, because of his ability to show extreme love, give to the poor, give of himself. He actually created his own religious order within the Catholic Church, the Franciscans. He was, like I said, a mystic, and he got into his religion so much and believed in it so strongly and had such a connection with God and Jesus that he bore the stigmata, the crucified wounds of Christ. So he is one of those figures and one of those Catholic saints that did that. Now, all of that is very notable, but in this video, I kind of want to talk about his relationship with other beings. So, St. Francis, one of the first Catholic clergy, or even, I think, probably religious figures in general, who did not consider animals to be less than humans. Prior to that, and even still to this day, people regard animals as just something to be used and exploited, and he did not believe that. He would often in his preaching refer to the animals as his brothers and his sisters. They were on equal footing, equal playing ground with all of God's creatures. In fact, there are stories of him talking to birds. There are stories of him going into the woods and preaching the gospel of Jesus and having all type of animals surround him. He had this really particularly persuasive way of communicating with animals. They would just flock to him. You'll find a lot of pictures and artistic representations of that going on. There's even a story about him in a particular town, I believe it was the town of Gubbio, where Wolf was going into this small village and attacking people and killing them. And they went, and St. Francis went to the town, figured out what was going on, and then he actually went and started looking for the wolf. So when he came across the wolf opened his mouth almost like he was going to try to attack St. Francis. St. Francis did the sign of the cross, and the wolf instantly submitted at his feet. And he had a conversation with the wolf. He said, basically told the wolf, I understand that you're hungry, but we need to work this out because the villagers hate you, they want to kill you, and we need to come to an understanding. So the agreement he made with the wolf through I guess his godly language that he could communicate with the wolf, is that the villagers would feed him. He would refrain from attacking or killing any of them, and then he blessed the wolf. And according to the story, from that point on, he also went back into town and communicated with the dogs of the town not to bother him or approach him, basically tell them to leave the wolf alone. The wolf would leave them alone, except when it's time to eat, and everybody was happy. And since then, according to the story, the wolf did not attack any more of the villagers. So you have stories, and you have these different myths about St. Francis communicating with animals and having a special way with them. Now, you'll still find some of this in Catholic thinking. For example, I believe it was maybe Pope John Paul II, that he was somebody who in a public address said that he believed that animals have souls and that they're going to heaven, that it's man's responsibility to develop relationships with them and then not to exploit them, to honor them and respect them, that they are not less of God's creatures than they. Which I think that's amazing. I completely agree with that. I have a friend who has a St. Francis ministry where she goes and has her church, and people go and she does blessings on them, and people can go to her church and bring their pets, and when their pets die, they can go to her for pet grief counseling. So this is something that she takes seriously, kind of a St. Francis ministry. I have a dog. His name is Knight. And actually, give me a second. I think you'll get a chance to meet him. Anyway, Knight was very, very ill. He had a spine injury. Yelping, crying, just doing something simple like jumping up on the couch and people. So we took him to the vet, they gave him the medication, and I went and got him actually a little St. Francis medallion. Oh, here he is. Come here. Want to meet everybody?
Don't make me help.
Come on. Okay. So this is Knight, and this is his St. Francis. I believe this is St. Francis. I think it's St. Anthony on. There we go. There's St. Francis. It's a St. Francis medal. So he is doing much better, feeling much better, due to the power of St. Francis and his protection. I'm going to let him down now. Well, anyway, I got him the little medallion and I said a prayer, and it seemed to accelerate his healing. The vet was actually, pretty surprised and very happy with his results. So that's something that I would really suggest, that if you have a pet that's in your life that you really love, that you learn a little bit about St. Francis and feel free to petition him. Saints do not care if you're not Catholic. You can still access their strength and their power. And this is what I would do if this is something you're really interested in, is you might want to kind of get if you have a coffee table or any type of small end table, get a white taper candle, write your petition of what you would like to St. Francis regarding the healing of your pet or protection. Write it down on a piece of paper. Put the candle on top of the piece of paper. Light the candle, and then verbally say your prayer to St. Francis. And then that's basically it. It doesn't have to be complicated. Whenever you're doing the magic of other traditions, for example, the Catholic tradition, it's very simple. There isn't a lot of wearing robes and having advanced sort of props and anything like that. So you kind of stick with the tradition, the mythology of whatever, you know, the spirit or entity or saint or whatever is a part of. On that note, I'm going to let you go, and I will see y'all later in another video. Please subscribe and like.